we begin meeting with the dorm occupants in hopes of transitioning them to alternative accommodations. And we are not just putting them out, we are giving them full support. And so that's why instead of having a town hall meeting or some joint meeting, we are meeting with them one-on-one to see their specific needs. They're being offered assistance and monetary assistance from social services in the amount of $4,000. And that's to help with any expenses that may come up with moving for rent. They can use it for rent, they can use it to complete repairs on their premises, and it doesn't have to be a full rental unit, but even if they have to move in with a relative, but their expenses incurred with that, say they have to help with the utilities or whatever, this money can be used towards that.
I think it's
Good morning, media colleagues and those joining us via the stream. It is a pleasure to welcome you to the Office of the Prime Minister's weekly press briefing. We have an exciting briefing planned for you today. And so without further ado, I will introduce Press Secretary Clint Watson to come and introduce our speakers for today.
Good morning to you, colleagues, and good morning to all of you joining us this morning. We have a very interesting morning set and plan for you to talk about a number of things. We have quite a bit of exciting announcements to make to you today, as well as to address some major concerns that we believe ought to be addressed in order to set the record straight this morning. We're going to do that, and when we do that, we'll also talk to you about an upcoming event that we believe the country should be made aware of with that regard as to what is happening. Now, I know there are a number of things that are happening in the country that many of you are asking questions about. We hope that we're able to address those for you, and of course to our colleagues in our media to be able to give you as much details and information surrounding those, obviously, as possible. But before we do that, I'm going to invite Prime Minister to come and make his first announcement regarding an upcoming event so that you have information, and it will kind of give you clarity on a lot of the work that's been happening on these overseas trips and what we are working on as an administration and how it would actually dovetail into all of the plans for his fight in climate change. So let's begin with Prime Minister, the Honorable Philip Davis, who will make a statement and then take a couple of questions regarding the statement. Prime Minister Davis.
The Honorable Prime Minister.
Morning, please be seated. I am pleased to announce today that the Bahamas will host the Regional Caribbean Heads of Government meeting on the 16th to the 17th of August 2022 at the Bahamas Resort in Nassau. My administration is introducing this conference as we seek to get results in the climate change fight. The Bahamas, along with the region, has lobbied year after year, meeting after meeting, as we sought for the world to acknowledge our vulnerable position. This meeting will position the Caribbean region to take control of our fate and present a unified position to the world at COP27, which will take place in Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt in November. The government of the Bahamas intends to establish the meeting as an annual event and will seek to have it instituted as a regular meeting on the United Nations Framework for Climate Change Convention calendar. I have said repeatedly that what happens in this region doesn't stay in this region. We must take the reins in ending our suffering and replace our position of vulnerability with that of power. It's past time to go on the offensive against the painful blows climate change has landed in the region. But we must be united in the fight, and convince the world that, for better or worse, we are in this together. The meeting is also intended to establish a Caribbean response exclusive of the conventional Latin America-Caribbean pairing in order to better reflect common geographical and geopolitical issues of Caribbean states. At the conclusion of the meeting, a chair's summary will be made available detailing the scope of the discussions as well as the key messages and ideas that emerge. I thank you. Well, we expect that all the countries in the region will participate. It's just the level that they would wish to. I'll be making personal calls to all the prime ministers and leaders of our region to personally add that personal touch for the invitation to come. The timing has been, this is something that the timing is a bit short, and we had hoped this is the first of its kind. So it's just being, it is in its inaugural stage. We hope to have this as an annual event. It may not be hosted by our country always, but it is important that I think that in gathering up ourselves for this fight, we need to have a unified voice in this region. This region is perhaps, and in particular the Bahamas, is the most vulnerable to the consequences of climate change. And our voices have not been heard in the past, but it's being heard now. Hence, the UNFCCC could reach out to us to host this regional meeting.
You said in the past that you want to lobby some of the international organizations to perhaps have some degree of debt forgiveness as it relates to debt concerning us trying to recover from hurricanes and those things related to climate change. So have you been able to advance discussions about that during your meetings and give us an update?
We are gathering momentum in that regard. Of course, there will always be resistance by those who are the culprits. I use that word kindly, in the sense that the huge emitters of the greenhouse gases, they ought to take responsibility for what they have caused with the phenomena that we are now enduring. So, and when you talk about debt forgiveness, as I've pointed out, and I continue to point out, when we examine the profile of our debts, more than 50% of our nation's debt could be directly linked to the consequences of climate change. Just an example, the Dorian loss and damage has been estimated to be $3.4 billion. If you rewind, Matthew was another 750 million. Joaquin was another 600 million, meaning Matthew was 750, Joaquin was 750 million. And if you go back to the other hurricanes, Maria and the rest of those that passed through our islands, you can see, when you look at the profile of our debt, where most of it comes from. Because we have to borrow to impact change, restoration, and that number that we speak of, just loss and damage to property. It doesn't address, the disruption in the economic activity that spur growth, because everything is distracted for the purposes of restoring and rebuilding.
Just for clarity, will the government be entirely footing the bill to host this regional conference?
Pardon me?
Will the government entirely be footing the bill to host
No. This is being sponsored. The UNFCCC will be taking up the bills for this conference. They're offering to to pay for all leaders' trip to the Bahamas. They're paying for their stay and everything else. Only thing we'll be obliged to do is to provide the proper security, because they're in our country, the proper security for the leaders that come.
Given the focus your administration has placed on climate change, can you say whether the government is undertaking any research to see the impact that we're now seeing in the Bahamas with climate change? I know we have a lot of hurricanes, but any research to see how sea level rising is impacting the country, or how, fishermen are maybe impacted already?
Yeah, well, again, when it's just not the sea level rises, but it's an increase in temperature that will always have an impact on our sea life. We are scientists around the world, and this is not a singular thing for the Bahamas itself. And there's no sense for us to be reinventing the wheel, and recognizing that these are costly interventions. We are relying on a number of scientists that's around the world that are doing research on the impact of the climate change. And there are a lot of studies. We know where we are, and we know what's going to happen already. And it's just a question of how we reverse the trend and the path on which we're on.
Mr. Prime Minister, yesterday the FNM had a press conference. They spoke about a number of issues. But with school opening soon, they talked about their concerns about education and industrial unrest with the teachers. And what's the update there, please?
Well, I gather that the message that was left out there by the press conference is that I did not fulfill the promises that I made to the nurses and the teachers. But far from it. If they were able to identify specifically what I promised and didn't fulfill, I would have been able to answer them more specifically. But suffice it to say, what I did promise the nurses was that whatever they were owed in respect to promises made and contractual arrangements made, I would satisfy. That has been done. We have paid them all their back pay and all sums that were due to the nurses. That was done. In respect to promises made in respect to their going forward for increases in salaries, if they were to listen to me, we have budgeted for the eventual increases in salaries for both nurses and teachers. It's a question of settling the agreement with the union as to what those amounts will be going forward. And that is an ongoing process. And from my understanding, they're very close to dealing with those issues.
The PLP's Blueprint for Change, you promised a anti-corruption act and campaign finance reform. How soon can we see those?
Well, as soon as our personnel get around to doing it. But right now, there are sufficient comprehensive provisions in our law to combat it. What is intended, and the Attorney General has been given the mandate to consolidate and to do benchmarking against best practices to identify what provisions we will have in our laws to combat the anti-corruption issues that impact our country.
About climate change? I mean, about campaign finance, right?
Pardon me?
About the campaign finance pledge?
What about the campaign finance plan?
In the Blueprint for Change, you promised campaign finance reform. Can we expect that in when?
Well, I don't say when that's coming, but right now there are other issues that impact the little person on the street, the little man in either street, who doesn't know where the next meal is coming from. I'm more focusing on those issues at this moment. at the moment, that's not a priority for me. We are, the Bahamian people are undergoing much suffering and pain as a result of the issues that have occurred over the last 4 years, and we're trying to address those as a priority. And yes, those matters are on our radar, but they're not prioritized at this time.
So David, you speak about catering to the little man.
Catering?
A few economists have said that U.S. recession is quite looming.
Pardon me?
A few economists have said that a recession for the U.S. is looming and coming at any time. Is the government looking at any safety nets for the inevitable impact that will have on the Bahamas?
Yeah, well, we've been working assiduously. If you tie the recession to the inflationary pressures that has been brought on by all of the other geopolitical issues that's happening around the world, like the disruption in supply chain and our supply chain and the cost of fuel as a result of the geopolitical issues, the Ukraine war, etc. We have been doing something. So, for example, what we did is that we lowered the cost import duties, which most of the food stores have passed on to customers. You would have seen even the food stores speaking to the fact that they are passing those savings on to the people. We are now considering what we're going to do with the retail gas stations, seeking to reduce some of their taxes on VAT to be able to pass that on to consumers at the pump. That is something in the work to see how that can work. I've also been talking with shipping agencies to determine how we could reduce the costs of transporting goods to the Bahamas. We are a consumptive society, consumptive economy, and most of our things are imported. So bringing in goods, if that is expensive, costs food and other items to be expensive in the Bahamas. And so, for example, we were successful in negotiating the reduction of transportation of goods from the Far East by at least 40%. That's in train now. We're now working on containers coming from Florida. And I am confident that we'll be able to have some reduction in respect to that. It's just the logistics that's going to be worked out in that regard. But we are working assiduously to avoid further burdening of our people as a result of these, what I call external shocks, which we have very little control over.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, thank you all very much. Thank you. Thank you.
There you go, Prime Minister. We thank Prime Minister Davis for coming to not only talk about the upcoming conference, but obviously to ensure that our colleagues get whatever questions they need have answered as well. I'm going to invite Shantaz Wilson, Deputy Director in Communications, to bring on Mr. Charles Hamilton, who will give you more information on the upcoming conference so that you have a little more detail as to the technical side of things and what this conference will offer. Shantaz, there you are.
Good morning, all. I'll endeavor to be brief because it is my job today to introduce someone much more knowledgeable than I in this area and therefore much more interesting. But before I do, I'd like to reiterate our pleasure in the Prime Minister's announcement of the first regional meeting of the heads of government of the Caribbean in preparation for COP27 right here in Nassau. We cannot understate the importance of this first-of-its-kind meeting, thanks to the determination of the Climate Change and Environmental Advisory Unit, affectionately known as the C2O. We will for the first time galvanize heads of government and ministers of foreign affairs from across the Caribbean nations in a unified front into COP27, which is the United Nations Climate Change Conference. In coming together, we amplify our collective voice on the world's biggest and most influential stage for the issue of climate change and position ourselves to influence the real and meaningful change that our nations and our people need. So, I commend the C2O for bringing this meeting together. and for the work that they have been doing over the past year to advocate for the Bahamas in global spaces. And I would like to invite a special representative for their team to give you all more information. You may already know Charles Hamilton, climate change advisor within the Office of the Prime Minister, as a staunch advocate for climate justice within the Bahamas. Since his time within the Climate Change and Advisory Unit, he has continued this advocacy on the international stage on behalf of our government and our people. Today, I am proud to announce that he was recently elected to the Article 6.4 supervisory body, the United Nations international body to supervise and regulate carbon exchange markets worldwide. As one of only 12 members on this elite body, he's perfectly positioned to champion the Bahamas' interests as he and the supervisory body work to shape climate finance and global carbon markets worldwide. As you know, the Bahamas is preparing to enter this world with the recent passages of the carbon credit trading bill. We have no doubt that Mr. Hamilton will serve his country well as we gear up for this change. Charles, Director Rochelle Newbold, and the Climate Change and Environmental Advisory Team have been working tirelessly to plan this meeting. So, without further ado, I invite you to come up and give a little bit more on the meeting and answer any technical questions. Thank you, Charles.
Okay. Good morning, Bahamas. Following up on the announcement by the Prime Minister, we're looking forward to hosting Caribbean heads of government to engage in critical topics that will be required to ensure that our lives and livelihoods can be prioritized going into COP27 and beyond. We have shaped this meeting to be able to address some key topics, including mitigation. So how do we reduce greenhouse gases? How do we ensure that renewable energy and energy security becomes a priority for our region? Around adaptation, ensuring that adaptation finance flows, that we can go ahead and be able to build resilience against the issues of rising sea levels and hurricanes. That means of implementation are prioritized, from the access to climate finance, in addition to ensuring that our reporting is done in a way that's transparent, that people can understand exactly what we are doing in order to do our part to address the climate crisis, and to address cross-cutting issues like sustainable tourism. How do we ensure that the critical pillars of our economies are also built in a way that is in alignment with the long-term temperature goals associated with the Paris Agreement? We need to be able to have a collective voice. The Caribbean does not really have a standing within the UN negotiating space. So we're looking to be able to bring forward this meeting to ensure that the Caribbean can be one of those heavy hitters. We are one of the smallest regions, but we're at the front lines of the climate crisis. And the leaders that are coming here realize this importance. This is how come we are certainly looking forward to ensuring that this is not just a talk shop, but we're ensuring that there are key actions that will come out that will benefit the people of the Bahamas and the people of our region. We already know that we have greater than 80% of the attendees at the heads of government level, and the remaining being at the ministerial level. So we're looking at high-level conversations here, in addition to international donors, partners, et cetera, in this space. We're also looking to see that we can be united in our messaging going into COP27, and also united in some of the key issues that the Bahamas is advancing, including the carbon credits market, seeing how we can work together as a region to address the inequities that we've seen globally. How is it that a price of carbon credit can be sold in the global north for $100 per ton of carbon, while in smaller countries, you're seeing it being sold for $5, $10. We're looking to flip that script completely. And so this is how come we are going to be bringing persons here together. In addition, with my position on the Article 6.4 supervisory body, we're also trying to ensure that the rules around carbon credit trading around the world is equalized, that we have equity in these exchanges, that the environmental protection is at the forefront of the issue, and that we look at actually advancing the UN carbon credit market by Q3 of next year. And so I would say this, that it's at this point that I will, I guess, leave it open for any questions or queries. But know that the Bahamas is being seen as a leader in this space. We will continue to do our part to fight. And at the end of the day, we're doing this work because of the people who are behind the screen, right? This is our home, and we want to ensure that our home is protected the best way we can through ensuring strong climate action. So I guess I'll leave it at that point.
Yeah, what do you say to pessimists who feel as though big global events that bring people together are often underwhelming in terms of what they achieve? And now might look at a regional event up in the Caribbean and wonder if we will be able to get results.
Well, I would say that it is true. Persons normally see large meetings as just a talk shop, underwhelming, nothing being done. But I think that the fact that the Bahamas was approached to actually host this meeting shows that even though we're a country of 400,000 people, that we're punching far above our weight, and we're inspiring for action to happen. The Prime Minister has continued to echo that it's all good that we talk, but now we need to act. We know that this is a decade important for action if you want to ensure that the goals set out in the Paris Agreement can be achieved. We have to see a 45% cut in greenhouse gases by 2030. And the only way that's going to happen is if we come together, we talk, but we also come out forward with the action plans. We're seeing that the dial is shifting among those developed countries because we're not sitting down and just accepting what is being told, well, we can't do this or we can't do that. And so for the fact that the Caribbean is coming together to try and unify its messaging, to come up with clear actions that will help us now and into the future, I am very much excited and I feel positive about the outcome that this Caribbean meeting will bring forward, and that it will be more action than talk.
Can we expect any reports that have recommendations for COP27 as a region?
Absolutely. Coming out of the meeting, we should expect the UNFCCC to support us with developing a chair's note, which will essentially outline what are the stances of the Caribbean region moving forward, how and what are the messages that we expect to take going into COP, and what are our expectations or demands as a region. Additionally, for those of you who are also interested in what's happening in the carbon credit market, the Article 6.4 supervisory body also posts all of our meeting minutes online, and you can also view in live. It does happen in European time, so it starts in the middle of the night, but for the sake of transparency, we thought that was also important.
Okay, so we'll be talking towards action, and what's the expected timeline of any action?
As soon as the end of the meeting, there are certain things that we would like to be done coming from out of those meetings. There are certain players that we're inviting to that meeting to also ensure that, hey, we've been talking about these issues for so long. What is the actual time scale that we want for things to be done in the short, medium, and long term? For us, we know that people are hurting now. There are certain things that we would like to get done. And so I'm saying as soon as the end of the meeting, let's look at what the report and what are some of the actions that we want to get done right now.
Okay, so what's immediate, short term, long term?
Yeah, so for us, first things first, we want to ensure that there is clear climate access finance windows available for Caribbean countries to be able to access funding that is not tied to any loans or whatnot associated with multilateral development banks. We want to ensure that the Caribbean is recognized as a formal negotiating bloc within the UNFCCC, so that way we can go ahead and bring forward our views instead of being lumped into other groups as well. Those are just some of the immediate actions, and I can assure you that more of those, initiatives that we want to propose, we will communicate those moving forward.
Would you be able to speak specifically to the carbon credits and when realistically the Bahamas would benefit from that system?
Mm-hmm. Yes. So, as we said, the passage of the carbon credits trading bill and also the climate change and carbon markets initiative bill has really set us forward to really quickly and swiftly advance this move towards putting us on the market. We know that it's been communicated from this office about us wanting to be able to conduct activities as early as the end of this year, right? And that's in the voluntary carbon market space. I've also given you a timeline that in the UN carbon credit space, that market is supposed to be opened up if we as a body do our work at that time by Q3 of next year. So there are dual roads to be able to travel in order to try and access some of the benefits from the carbon credit market. And of course, as we continue to advance in this, using the science, working with the team of experts, we look forward to sharing more with the Bahamian people.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
We also want to be able to announce, we would have been at the same podium to announce a special competition for our young people to be able to provide themselves the opportunity to be a part of COP27 and the Youth Forum, which is a major deal, COP27. We now have the winners who will be traveling to COP27, and I'm going to invite retired Justice Ruby Nottage to come, who is the chair of the Youth Selection Committee, and make the announcement of our winners.
Good morning, and thank you, Mr. Watson. As Clint has said, I have been the chair of a committee that was organized to sift through applications in a competition for persons who will be attending the COP27. Now, in order to inform you a little bit about my committee, I'd like to also invite to stand on either side of me two young people. You see, I don't want you to believe that this committee was just made up of little old ladies like me. So may I invite, please, Miss Alicia Roll on my right and Miss Chanel Williams on my left. Alicia actually works with the Sustainable Development Goals Office here at the Office of the Prime Minister, and Chanel works with the Department of Environmental Protection. Correct, yes. So these are very important young people in our nation, and they also are very well aware of the challenge that we gave the young students when we set out this competition. So for those of you who don't know, just bear with me a little bit. I'll give you some background, and then you will be able to better appreciate those persons who won and who will be shown to you in a short while. As an introduction, I want to say that during COP27, which as you know took place in Glasgow, United Kingdom, last November 2021, there was a strong youth presence. We saw it on the television. We heard them, Greta Thunberg and others. Youth from all around the world were able to raise their voices regarding concerns related to climate change and the plight of the world. COP26 was a real eye-opener. But one thing was clear to me. The youth of the world seemed to be saying they'd had enough and world leaders must take action. While the presence of the youth was unprecedented, I mean, they were there marching throughout the streets. What was startling was the absence of youth from the Bahamas. The Bahamas, a country which was the most recent to suffer from Hurricane Dorian. devastating impacts in our country as a result of climate change. Government, nevertheless, in January of 2022, this year, proposed that a national competition be undertaken with the support of corporate Bahamas to provide financial support for at least 4 young people to attend COP27, scheduled for Sharm el-Sheikh in Egypt. Now, I was impressed with that, and when I was asked whether I would chair this committee, I said yes, because I want to see our young people there. I know they have a voice, and I want the best to be able to speak for our Bahamas. But to accomplish this committee, a certain arrangement had to take place. First of all, there had to be a national application process, which was launched on the website for students interested in applying for the available spots. There were categories in which the applicants would be grouped, namely high school students between grades 10 and 12, and a second category of university students. That would be the UB, BTVI, and any other tertiary level students from institutions within the Bahamas. There was an age limit of 25 years. Applicants must be Bahamians, and they should have a current passport or the ability to obtain that, because they're traveling with our delegation. They must be from public and private high schools here in the Bahamas, and they should be, in their essay, produce an essay of certain number of words. There was a word limit, and in their video, there was a limit of 3 to 5 minutes for the presentation on the topic which concerned climate change. The award was to be given to the top females and males within each category. Now, 4 was the chosen number for the 2 categories of high school and university. Sitting on my committee, and I was not alone, and indeed, in addition to the 2 young persons that you see here, there were members of the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Youth and Sports and Culture, the Ministry of Agriculture and Family Island Affairs, a representative from the Office of the Spouse, a representative from the University of the Bahamas, from the Ministry of the Environment and Natural Resources, from the Sustainable Development Unit, from the Private School Board, and from corporate sponsors. They were all members of my committee. Couldn't bring them all here today, but I'm sure that they're all going to be interested that I speak well for them. As the government will finance its own technical and administrative delegation, it was recommended that the efforts be made to engage private sector participation to give financial sponsorship to this initiative. And that is where the funds will be coming from for these young people to travel. What are the expected outcomes? Well, a program like this, we felt, would provide an opportunity for the issue of climate change to be brought to the forefront of the minds of our emerging young Bahamians and those who are living the life under climate change. These are the youth leaders who need to be well-spoken, and they all need to be speaking from the same page. I think that's also what Mr. Hamilton was saying here, that from the Caribbean, which is most affected by climate change, we all need to know the same message from the same page. And that's what our young leaders will be doing. So this program, we hope, has drawn attention to international opportunities for Bahamian students, and particularly those who will travel. They must, in essence, embody who we are as Bahamians, what we have experienced and what we hope for. They must be well-spoken about our Bahamas, and we feel that those who have been chosen will ably represent us. Enough said from me. Now you want to meet these young people, and you want to hear where they are from. So I'm going to ask both Alicia and Chanel to assist me. First of all, Alicia will introduce the high school division. Would you introduce us to, and as your name is mentioned, please come and stand behind the person who's introduced you or next to them. Alicia, would you begin with our high school division person?
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. As Ms. Nodis just said, my name is Alicia Roll. I work in the Sustainable Development Goals Unit, and it was a pleasure to work on this project along with Chanel and the other committee members. So the first person who has been notified as a winner from the high school division is Miss Michaela Raven Kerr, and she is 16 years old, and she attends Kingsway Academy. So if she can just join me here on the podium, that would be great. Good morning, Michaela. And secondly, from the high school division, we also have Mr. DeLon Drayshawn Evans. He is 15 years old, and he attends Aquinas College.
Congratulations to our high school award recipients. We will now introduce our tertiary students who are also going to be going to Egypt for COP27. They are Ashante D. Russell. She is 24 years old and she attends the University of the Bahamas. Let's welcome her. And Miss Jasmine R. Colley. She's 25 years old and she attends the Bahamas Technical and Vocational Institute.
In addition, thank you. Aren't they a wonderful group of people? I told them that what they should do, if I only were just that small, just tuck me in one of their pockets. I want to be a fly on the wall and see them as they perform. I'm going to be so proud of them. In addition, we have going, these were the members who, the young people who won in the competition. In addition, being sponsored are Mr. Charles Hamilton from Long Island. He will, I'm sorry, Charles, you're not being sponsored. No, I got that. Mr. Miles Johnson. Miles Johnson, a young man from Long Island, NGM High School, Major High School. And also here, Mr. Johnson wasn't able to be with us this morning. Here with us, though, is Kaja. Is that it? Kaja Knowles? Kaja. Kaja, would you come and join me, please? You see, the best is for last. Kaja comes from Mayaguana Comprehensive All-Age School, and she was excellent. So please come and join us as well. She will be going along. We're delighted to have participated in this event. I think it's going to be a landmark event, hopefully continuing each year when COP is held and we are able to send our young people to stand and communicate and talk about our Bahamas. I'm going to step back because I think I need to now recede into the background. And you as persons who are looking at us, tell us what you would like to ask or ask me and or ask the students. Remember, they have just literally learned about this, within almost 24 hours ago, right? We've had to move very quickly because we need to make sure that you're all booked and ready, get your travel arrangements, etc. So we're working hard to make sure you're ready. And I hope that between now and November when you leave, that you do as much reading as you can and exploring with Mr. Hamilton some of the avenues that need to be open to you. By the way, I just want you to know I teach law at the University of the Bahamas, and this semester I will be teaching environmental law. Perhaps I should open that class up to you and let you listen in to some of the issues that we cover, which, though you won't hear it all, you'll know a little bit. But thank you so much for being my representative, our representative. This is wonderful. Thank you so much, Mr. Watson.
Thank you all, and congratulations. Let's give them another hand as they leave. Thank you. And I just have, before I take any final questions you may have, I have one announcement to make for you. And it's simply, in a matter of weeks, the country will observe the 3rd anniversary of Hurricane Dorian. September 1. The government of the Bahamas is pleased to announce that the country will observe a week-long national memorial in honor of the victims, survivors, and first responders. There'll be a week of activities which we'll be announcing very soon as how we will go through the week of memorializing those involved in Hurricane Dorian. So listen out for that. There'll be events here in New Providence, Abaco, and Grand Bahama. However, this morning we wish to announce a highlight of that week, which will take place on the actual date that Dorian made landfall in the Bahamas, September 1st. The nation will host a national memorial concert. The event will feature local talent as well as an international headliner. I believe you have a message from that headliner for that special memorial concert.
Hello, Bahamas. This is Cece Winans inviting you to join me September 1st at the Bahamas Convention Center as we honor the memories of the 2019 Dorian hurricane victims and families. I look forward to seeing you there.
The event is absolutely free, and so we look forward. You will hear instructions as to how you can get admission passes for the event, and we look forward to celebrating with families, the memories of the victims who lost their lives, as well as families, survivors, and the Bahamian public as we really pause and to remember them, but also to give thanks to God for keeping our nation. And so we're happy that Ms. Cece Winans has agreed to be the headliner for this event, as well as other local artists and a number of events that will happen throughout the week that we will be announcing as we get closer to September 1st. And so we're excited to announce that today in your hearing. That is the only announcement I have, so any other questions, we can take those now. If you have questions, let me know. If you don't, you can say and pass. We begin with Leandra Roll Tribune. Hi, Leandra.
I know earlier, I think this year, a few months ago, I know that GRA officials will announce that they plan to demolish the domes in APCO. I think this month, I just want to know if that process would have begun as yet, and also what sort of assistance is being given to those tenants. I think a video was shared earlier where the GRA chairman spoke.
Yes, we had officials who spoke to them last week. They made appointments with each of the homeowners and residents in the domes to sit with them to devise a plan for their transference to other housing. And they were able to do that, work with them on that. The government is providing some assistance, I think up to $4,000 for each dome occupant, the home, the family, to relocate to other assistance. That's going on, that's presently happening. And once that is complete, then the demolition can begin. And we will have an update, I think it's next week's press conference, Ministry of Housing, on how that's going to happen and what is going to take place with that regard. So we're well on our way to that. Thank you. Nassau Guardian, Jasper Ward. Are you feeling good today, Jasper? Thank you. Appreciate it, Jasper. I don't see our news here. Oh, there. Yes.
Just one question, Glenn. With respect to the celebrations that you just announced, as well as if you could incorporate the Independence Day celebrations, how much is this going to cost us?
Independence Day?
Yeah, so the celebrations that you just announced for Hurricane Dorian victims, that week of celebrations, how much is that going to cost, as well as can you provide a costing as far as how much Independence Day costed?
Oh, no, I don't have the figures on Independence Day. Independence Day, you're talking about in the recent independence celebrations. Right, okay, I don't have the information on that. I can get it for you. As far as Dorian is, it's particularly the concert event is being sponsored by private sector. And of course, government will provide whatever shortfall it is, but the majority of it is private sector. But we'll provide, obviously, the records for that for you, so you have the exact figures. Thank you, Sasha. Destiny here from JCN? No? Oh, you're there. Hey, Destiny. Okay, thanks. Carla, ZNS?
Yesterday during the press conference with the FNM, they expressed concerns as well about the more beds needed at PMH, they say. What's being done to address the health?
Yeah, what's been done is Dr. Darwell has been very clear that he is looking to provide new facilities and expanded facilities at Princess Margaret Hospital. That's no secret. We already know of talks of getting the Ryan Memorial up and going, a new facility for that. Princess Margaret Hospital follows shortly behind that. This administration came to office understanding the critical state of the Princess Margaret Hospital, and it's not going to be ignored. It's been systematically looked at. Quotes are being investigated. Plans are being put on the drawing board to expand the capacity. What I want to say most importantly about the expansion capacity is while that's happening, there's also a program going in place to systematically try and help our people so they don't need beds in the hospital. And that it's a wellness program to ensure that our people will not need to have to stay in the hospital. So there's two fronts that we're tackling this on: preventative and also being able to put in place, being able to care for our people should they have a need. And Dr. Darville will talk more about that in this, I think it's in the end of this month, actually, we're in August. He's going to be making some announcements about that, the actual infrastructure of hospitals, and he will talk more to what he is doing. But there is a systematic plan in place to address the issue. It's a problem we've met in place. It's been an age-old problem from administrations, and that comes with just a growing population. It's not the fault of anybody, but a growing population, and we're hoping to address that.
They also talked about the increase in the level of crime, and I guess lack of inclusion by the government of them.
Of the opposition. And why I say that's not true is because when the government did bring a multi-sector approach to talking about where we're at now, and let's see what we're dealing with, what are the issues behind what we're doing, they were invited, they were there, and they were able to ask questions and give input in the forum that was held. I'll tell you this much, and of course the opposition has been very clear on expressing what they believe may be solutions, and that's welcomed. But the solution, I believe, to crime, and I say this strongly, and I've always said it, is I think more mental and social and spiritual than it is physical things. If you ask somebody, how do you stop somebody from a crime, you really can't. What you can do, though, is address the issues that people are facing that's causing them to result in violent activities. That's a psychological issue. And it comes back to what we said in this country. We have a bigger psychological issue than I believe any other kind of issue in this country. And I think we have to address that on a bigger scale, on a greater scale. Dr. Darville spoke about it. He spoke about the need, when he did his budget communication, the need to put more focus in on dealing with the psychological needs of our people. The budget speaks to that because we recognize unless you're able to talk to somebody and address their spiritual need, their social need, their psychological need, you're not going to see their behavior different. And crime is a result of people's behaviors. And the only way to change somebody's behaviors is to deal with their psychological issues. And I believe that's where our focus ought to be, rather than just programs and just putting in place more police on the streets. Those are good, but that's not going to stop somebody from a crime. So that's where the focus needs to be, more of the psychological issues in the country, and the new budget reflects that. Thank you, Carla. Eyewitness News. Digital and broadcast. Okay, digital on this side, that's your Rashad. Hey.
Yeah, just one question. Yesterday, the Prime Minister talked about how at BPL there would be these sort of base level inquiries, and if what they want, if the information isn't forthcoming, it might expand into something bigger. When he initially called for a larger scale inquiry, some of the issues at the time, one might say they're not really live anymore. The issue affecting the board that's been settled, the rate reduction bond that never was placed. So what exactly is the administration inquiring into that could expand into something bigger?
That's $1 million question. I thought you were about the Prime Minister. He was here. But the Prime Minister will speak to that. When it comes to commission inquiries that his administration, they can a decision on, we allow the Prime Minister to speak specifically to certain things without preempting him. And he will obviously make more information available as to why he feels there's a necessity for a commission of inquiry. All right. Yes.
I know that the health minister, Dr. Michael Lovell, spoke about trying to get monkeypox vaccines in the coming months from the Pan American Health Organization. And I believe the monkeypox vaccine is only being recommended right now in the United States for I would say, men who have sexual other men. When we get those vaccines, what is the rollout plan? Will they be for everybody? Will they be for a specific target, like a target audience? Can you give us, what is the government planning on doing with those?
Well, we're waiting on Dr. Darvin and his team to make the advice as to what is the best course of action to go. And that's why we've not spoken about it, because what they're doing right now is setting up to make sure that they have in place the measures that we need should there be any needs for an outbreak or any increased cases. You don't want to wait for your government to then start scrambling trying to get them. You want them to be in place. So what they're doing now is making sure that we're able to address the issue. Should it become one, it's not a concern right now in the Bahamas, but should there be a need, we can respond. But the Ministry of Health will roll that out and it will explain to us how it will work as they see the need arises. They haven't said anything yet, that's good news, that we don't have to worry about it right now. But when they're ready, they'll explain should there be a need.
And just one more question, also in regards to vaccines, with the COVID-19 vaccination rate. I know that the government is still pushing for that 70% at the end of the year. And I know that yesterday the opposition was quite critical and called it unrealistic. How is the government, trying to ramp up and make sure we reach that goal by the end of this year, which is coming quite fast?
Right. I know the opposition has called it unrealistic. They also called opening the economy and being able to lift some of the restrictions impossible. We did it. So I don't think they have a good track record on saying what's impossible and what's possible. The Davis administration proves that if it sets its mind to do something, it'll do it, and it'll do it responsibly. We've already proven a lot of things they said could not happen. We've proven that it could happen. And so that's on a record we want to run on with them as far as what is happening, what's not happening. I will say to you that we follow the science, right? We have medical professionals, health officials who have been getting us through this pandemic very good. Follow their science, right? And you follow what it is they say you need to do in order to ensure safety. This pandemic is still among us. I know we're now enjoying a more normal life than we did before, but we're still not there yet. There's still a long ways to go. There's still people who are being infected with COVID-19. There are still environments that you have to be very careful with. And so we don't want to make decisions that will cause us to reverse. You want to be able to progress. And that's why you do it very methodically and very carefully, taking the science into consideration. Vaccination is what the world has known to be one of your greatest defense. Mask has always been said to be an even more greater defense because it helps to protect you, right? People who have been vaccinated can still catch COVID. But your mask can help you be prevented from catching COVID. And so that's still the greatest tool. So why get rid of the greatest tool that is your greatest defense until you're absolutely sure that you are in the clear? And that's why the mask is the last thing to go, because it is our greatest defense. We want to keep our people as safe as long as possible until we are sure that we are out of the woods. And that's why it's important to ask people to get vaccinated. You know what's been going on? People have been getting COVID and recovering because many of them are vaccinated. So the impact is minimal. That's the importance of that. That message continues. That message continues so that people know that that option is still available to them, particularly as schools reopen and we want to see normalcy in our schools. That helps to make the process more normal. And so until the science says otherwise, we will continue to follow the science so that we can get our people out of the clear. The Davis administration is keen on ensuring that Bahamians are safe and that they're able to get back to normal. Trust me, the Prime Minister wants to deliver on that. And so he's making all the calculated moves to ensure he can do that properly and successfully. All right, thank you. But I forgot, Shelley, Global, do we have anything for Shelley? You good? All right. All right, so that's all of our questions this morning. Finally, of course, we like to highlight Bahamian food businesses out there so you know to spend your money with our local Bahamian food businesses. We are so happy today in this press conference to bring to you a brand that I'm sure you've seen around and probably thought it was foreign. It is actually local, and it's good. It's very good. I'm already speaking for them. I'm going to invite Melissa Darville to come and talk about Shiver and tell you what Shiver is. And you see that wonderful lit up freezer over there. Some goods are right in there for you. So come and listen, tell us about the business Shiver, and then we'll be done.
Good day, and thank you so much for the invitation to come. And this is Shiver. You can find it in Shell gas station, in Rubis, in convenience stores, pharmacies all around Nassau. And Shiver is, we actually felt at home today with the conversation in the room because Shiver is embarking on becoming a business that is forward-thinking in the Bahamas. So we're not just an entrepreneur business, but also a forward-thinking one. We are now actually in a regional competition called Climate Launchpad, participating with Barbados, and we are looking at our carbon footprint. And we can say that Shiver, as a plant-based frozen dessert, has an A grade in carbon emissions, and we can say that plant-based eating reduces the carbon by 61%. Okay, now the regular ice cream gets a C grade for its footprint. So Shiver is not only helping entrepreneurs, it's not only a female single person pushing a business, but it's also very concerned about the future of the Bahamas. So we would like for you to think about including a plant-based frozen dessert into your routine. And the thing is, it's not just delicious. It's in there, it's full, you can try it today. It's not just delicious, but it's also healthy. Because of the way it's produced, it has all of its vitamins, all of the antioxidants. It's good for eye health, it's good for gut health, it's good for heart health, and the single servings have less than 100 calories in them. So we are doing everything with Shiver, okay? This is also culinary tourism, because we're promoting our culture with this. So what we want you to do as Bahamians is support businesses, and not just businesses who are there to just make a dollar, but businesses who are there to help their economy, help each other, help their peers, help the climate. That's it. Thank you.
Tell me your flavors.
Our flavors, we have mango, passion fruit, soursop, guava, tamarind, what else? We have blackberry and we have strawberry, and they're all delicious. Thank you.
And I must tell you, my favorite is the mango, the passion fruit, the guava, the blackberry, the soursop. They're all exceptionally good, I must say. I've had them. So we have them here for you to enjoy on this nice hot summer Thursday, something healthy and enjoy. That's our press conference. If you have any questions, you know how to reach us here at the Prime Minister's press office. Thank you, and please be safe. Good afternoon.